This is the John Steigerwald Show on AM 1250. The Answer.
Well, I sure hope I live to be 102, because that would mean I'd make it to 2050, and I'd be able to appreciate and enjoy the benefits of the stupid law that was produced by an executive order from the governor of Pennsylvania, Tom Wolf. In case you missed it, Pennsylvania could be getting into the Regional Greenhouse Gas Initiative. Just the name should scare everybody off. Anyway, Gregory Wrightstone is a geologist and the author of Inconvenient Facts, the science that Al Gore doesn't want you to know, and he joins us now. Thanks for being here.
Yeah, it's pretty stupid. Hey, before we get going, you might want to know, right now on Amazon, the book is #1 bestseller in several categories. So woohoo for me. But yeah, that's not what we're on to talk about. But I had to gloat a little bit.
No, that's fine. You should. I know what it goes into writing a book. So would it be safe to say that Al Gore would love this executive order that you are all fired up about?
Oh my, yes. It doesn't go far enough from what he would say, because let's go over what Governor Wolf has proposed here. He's proposing. He signed an executive order 2 weeks ago on October 3rd to get us bring Pennsylvania into the Regional Greenhouse Gas Initiative. It's a co-op, if you will, of now 10 states in the Northeast United States. What it wants to do is set up a market where electricity providers, generators, have to buy what they call carbon offsets for all the carbon dioxide emissions that they create. So it only targets electricity generators, but they have to go buy this. Current rate is $5.20 per ton released. That would be, it's somewhere between $250 and $400 million that the electricity generators would have to pay out.
That's in Pennsylvania.
In Pennsylvania.
Yeah.
Pennsylvania electricity generators.
Yeah.
Now, and they're not going to eat that. They're not going to eat that.
Oh, no.
That's going to be passed directly on to everybody consuming electricity that are generated there. And what that's going to do is drive up the cost for just about everything that's in the state for high-intensity electricity, high-intensity energy. Manufacturing sectors are going to just move out of state. And that's what we've seen in the other 9 states that have imposed this. They have partially reduced their carbon dioxide emissions, but it wasn't through the intended consequences. It was industries moving out of those states to others where they had lower energy prices. It only makes sense. So what this is going to do is make Pennsylvania less competitive economically, and it's going to increase costs for everybody listening on this, to you right now and to us. It's going to drive up everything, not just for electricity, but just think of all the other products that are constructed.
Well, restaurants have an electric bill.
Yeah. And it's and Ohio and West Virginia, our neighboring states here to the west and south, they have no intention of doing this. Absolutely not. They've stated that they're not going to do it. So if I've got a widget factory that's energy intensive, I'll move it over to Moundsville or Mahoning County or someplace in Ohio or whatever. It only makes sense to do that. And one of the things, I just wrote a commentary on this that we published, and one of the things that no one talks about is, and I will be talking about it, I'm going to be testifying to the House Energy and Science Committee on October 28th in Harrisburg about this, and I'll be providing my science-based analysis of this bill. But one of the things they don't talk about is just how little warming would be averted by reducing our CO2 emissions in Pennsylvania. And if we reduced 100% of all of our CO2 emissions from the electricity sector, we would only avert, now you're ready for this, you're sitting down,
Yeah.
1/1000th of a degree Fahrenheit by the year 2050.
So you're saying I'm not going to need to load up on sweaters or anything if I live to be 102, because I'm not going to, probably not going to feel that 1/1000th of a degree.
Yeah, you're probably not. Yeah, that's well below anything we can, our ability to measure that. And I brought that up. I was in part of a panel discussion in Columbus on Tuesday with a professor from Penn State that he was adamant that this was a crisis and we had to do everything in our power to change it. And I said, well, I told him, I said, if we reduced 100% of our carbon dioxide emissions in the entire United States, it would only avert 0.04 of a degree centigrade by the year 2050 and 0.1 of a degree centigrade by 2100. Really, that's if we did that. And he admitted that that's true, but he says that we're just one country and all the countries on Earth have to cooperate.
Yeah, India will be right on that.
Right, a 0.04 of a degree centigrade by 2050. How many jobs lost is that worth? I'll tell you how many. Zero.
Yeah, but here's the thing, Gregory. You're a geologist, so you qualify as a scientist. I assume that he's also a scientist. How do they justify torturing the entire civilization in order to lower the temperature of the Earth by a percentage that would not be noticeable or change anything? I mean, they must. What is their justification for it then? If they can't use the degree to which the Earth would supposedly be cooler. Well,
we both gave a talk before the panel discussion and debate. His talk was entitled "The Rocks." It was a geology conference, so the title was "The Rock Solid Evidence for Anthropogenic Warming." And and he used models about what was going to happen, how hot it was going to get. It would be the world spiraling into this catastrophe of unprecedented warming. And my talk right after him was unprecedented or unusual. The evidence says else. So basically he's saying X and I was saying Y. And the difference is he uses models to project what might happen 50 or 80 years in the future. What I do, I look at what's actually happening today. And what I see is an Earth that's thriving, prospering, and greening, and humanity's benefiting because of rising temperatures and increasing CO2. It's just opposite of what we're being told. So again, if we looked at rank speculation based on failed climate models, you'll come up with one thing, and I look at the actual science of what's going on today, and I see we really have an Earth, by just about every metric you look at, things are getting better and better and better. And it's just the opposite of what we're being told. Fires and a lot of these extreme weather events are actually declining. They're not increasing, but they are in their models.
Right.
And they're expected to be that. But, what they want to do is impose these economically crippling and basically sanctions on the people of the United States and the Western world. Meanwhile, China and India get a pass. India in particular, and I love what they're doing. Prime Minister Modi, he's just said, we're going to ignore the Paris Climate Accords. I'm going to do what's best for my people, and what's best for my people is to provide abundant, low-cost, reliable energy. And he's doing that by building a lot of coal-fired plants. Now, they're embracing renewables as well. They have an all-of-the-above policy, but they can't get there without the fossil fuel-fired electricity. And they've got 1.3 billion people there, and half of those are living in energy poverty. 4 million people around the world die in early death from emphysema or lung cancer because they're cooking over wood or dry dung in their homes. Those are 4 million lives that could be spared by giving them electric or giving them propane, compressed natural gas. And those are the things that the Pope, AOC, Greta Thunberg, all these people want to basically destine these people to generational poverty when they can be lifted up out of generational poverty with reliable, abundant, affordable energy.
And this all makes so much sense, what you're saying, and the hysteria that's being generated by the people who think that we're all doomed if we don't listen to them. Why are people so quick to accept that, and why do you have to beat your head against the wall to get people to listen to you, which I think you probably do anyway?
I'm very optimistic. As I travel around the country, I just meet random people on the airline or wherever, and I find that people are just thirsty for unbiased, unfiltered, good scientific information presented in a logical way to tell them about the climate change facts that run contrary to this consensus opinion of catastrophic man-made warming. And there's a lot of data out there. There's a huge amount of information that I just presented on Tuesday, a pretty good science-based presentation for 30 minutes of why, as a geologist, I don't believe that we're leading that man-made or greenhouse-driven warming is happening. Well, it is happening, but it's overwhelmed by the same natural forces that have been driving temperature since the dawn of time, really.
Mm-hmm. Now, and the other thing that amazes me is that no matter how much sense you make, that if you were to be hired tomorrow to work for Consol Energy or Exxon, that would destroy your credibility in the minds of about 95% of the media, because you work for an energy company. You can't possibly be unbiased. But who else would an energy if I owned an energy company, I'd say, find me somebody who can blow holes in this stupid argument that wants to ruin my business. Of course I'm going to find somebody like you.
Yeah. I've not taken a penny in anything for what I do. I walked away from a successful consulting business 2 years ago because I got consumed with this. It was, I'm a man on a mission. I sometimes feel like an old-time evangelist spreading the good news of the gospel of rising and increasing CO2. And, I'm trying to get the word out. But you're right. And last time I testified in Harrisburg, there was two of the Democrat congressmen. She really got into me about your funding, and I wish I had it in front of me. I went and looked later. Well, heck, she's gotten $42,000 or $43,000 from Penn Future, from this environmental group and that environmental group, and she's calling me biased and bought and paid for. No, honey, it was you, sweetheart. Well, she'll be in that same conference room next time I'm there on the 28th.
We're talking to Gregory Wrightstone. He's a geologist and the author of Inconvenient Facts, the science that Al Gore doesn't want you to know. While I have you here, Gregory, what's happening in California, speaking of power and energy and electricity, people out there have gone without power, millions, I guess, or hundreds of thousands, I don't know what the number is, too many, have gone without electricity for I don't know how many days, because in an effort to prevent more fires. And I'm sure there are people out there saying that this is all climate change that's causing these fires, but it's humans that are causing it, but it has nothing to do with the way they're producing energy, right?
Well, it does have to do with the way they're producing energy. It's the electrical lines that are strung through the trees and through on the poles. And every year the Santa Ana winds come up at this time of year, really, really high winds. And they knock over power lines. And most of the fires in California are man-made. Not that they're arson, but a lot of it are transformers sparking. You get the random drunk illegal immigrant running into a pole or something. Forgive me, that was a little humor there. But they're mostly man-made.
Yeah.
But get this now. Your listeners will be shocked when they hear this. According to CAL FIRE, so all things fire related in California, you go to CAL FIRE for the data. According to CAL FIRE, the number of fires in California over the last 30 years have declined by almost 50%. In California, they've declined. Now, the area burned has increased, which means that each fire is necessarily twice as big and probably a lot more intense, but that's a forest management issue. That's not a climate change issue. We got away from proper forest management probably 40 years ago. Remember, under the Clinton administration, the old growth forest and spotted owl, and so the old forest management used to include timbering, grazing, controlled burns. There were a lot of things that they changed. And now, according to the Sierra Nevada Conservancy, there are 5 to 6 times too many trees per acre. And think about that. So now you get a fire. It's not just that extra fuel, but just think each extra tree is competing against those other trees for scarce soil moisture. So these extra trees are actually exacerbating an already possibly arid condition. I mean, California, after all, is basically a semi-desert. And so they're competing for that same scarce soil moisture. And think about it, too. It used to be when a fire happened, the fire crews could use the logging roads to get in. Well, they're all grown up now. So you've got access issues to get back into the areas. There's just a lot of things. They've really, the area burned increase. It is a man-caused problem, but again, it's not a global warming caused problem. It's from our own policies on timbering and lumbering and how we manage our forests. And we see the same thing in the Amazon fires. Those Amazon blew up a few weeks ago or a month ago. Well, if you look at the NASA report, if you look there now, they say that the fires in the Amazon are, and this is a quote, about average from what they've been since the first satellite went up in 2003. Just dead center, right in the middle of the average.
Well, I'm out of time, Gregory.
All right.
I really appreciate you being on, and thanks for alerting me to this stupid executive order that the governor put out. We'll talk to you about that again after you testify up there. I appreciate it.
Thank you.
Thank you very much. That's Gregory Wrightstone. He's a geologist and the author of Inconvenient Facts, the science that Al Gore doesn't want you to know. We'll be right back.